Today, I'm going to give you a bunch of no-budget filmmaking tips. But first, we need to deal with this issue.
You know, there ain't no such thing as no-budget filmmaking. You know it. You know it. No such thing. There ain't no such thing.
All right, so there really is no such thing as no-budget filmmaking. There is a reason to think about it this way. Somebody's already spent the budget. It might be that you don't have any more money to spend on your film, but somebody has spent money to make a film. You can't make a film for nothing. Somebody has spent money somewhere so you can make your film. So it might be that you're using your iPhone that you already have paid for, or your parents have paid for, or somebody's paid for it. Maybe you already have the equipment, you already bought it. Well, that just means that you've already spent the money for the budget for this film. Now, the reason that we want to think about it this way is, say you have a pretty reasonable filmmaking budget, pretty cheap, like $1,000 budget. You got a camera, you got a lens, you got a microphone, you're going out to make a film. If you make one film, then that production equipment costs you $1,000. So that's a lot of money to pay to make one film, especially since if you make one film, it's probably not going to be that great as far as expenses go. But if you make two films, suddenly you're only $500 in the hole for each film. You make 10 films, then it's only $100 each time. You make 20, you're only putting $50 in. The point here is that you're spending money to produce this content. The more you use your equipment, the more value you get out of it, the cheaper each time you make a film. So that's like just one way of saying, and this is my first tip, to go out and shoot, go out and do work, shoot films, go out and take photographs, shoot video, use your equipment as much as you can. Don't think that you need to get the next big piece of equipment before you do anything. Don't wait. Use what you have available right now, whether you have to borrow it or anything. Now, before I get into the rest of the tips, I do want to say, if you think of something that would be a tip that you would give, leave it in the comments below. Let's kind of make this interactive thing so we can help some of the people that are new to filmmaking, because we all learn lots of stuff. And these were just tips that I just wrote down on my notebook that just popped into my head. These are not exhaustive like everything that I would recommend. It's just things that popped into my head. I'm sure more will come in the future. Number one is the energy on set is extremely important. If you are on set and there's just a bunch of downer people on set, you're just going to bring the liveliness down on the set. Also, this is another reason why I recommend just going out there and working on films with other people, collaborating, find other projects to help on, because you will find out the people that you like working with. You'll find, oh, I really like this person. This one's good. She's super helpful. And then you'll also find, and this might be even more valuable, who are the people you don't want to work with? Who are the people that bring the set down, that create tension and have arguments and issues every time they're on set? It always seems to be the same people that cause problems. Figure out who they are and just don't work with them. And just as a side note, if there are people in your life that are just difficult all the time, that are just downers, do whatever you can to just like get them out of your life. Surround yourself with awesome, upbeat, creative people, and your life will get much better, especially on a film set. Tip number 2 is give work to your actors. And this isn't like just hire them. This means when they are acting in your film, give them something to do. When you have 2 people come into a room and sit down and have a conversation, or they meet here and they're standing up and having a conversation, it's boring. It's not a great way to tell a story. It's much more effective if you have have something for the actor to do. Have them, like they're working on something, they're assembling something. There's, when there's a conversation going on, have something dynamic. Like if you have 2 people having an argument, do you want them to just sit in the car and have an argument? Kind of boring. Or say they're getting ready to go out on a date and they're both they're running behind and they're both trying to get ready and they're butting heads. That's a much better way to show the tension of this relationship through the action, not just the dialogue. Number 3. This one, the very first film that I ever worked on was on film, and we didn't have a lot of money. And 16 millimeter film's pretty expensive. We didn't want to shoot anything extra, but wish we would have shot a tiny bit more. And this is take one step back. And by that I mean, if somebody comes through the door and you cut, and then you're going to continue from that point walking into the room, for instance. Don't just have them come to the door and stop, and then move the camera, and then have them continue from this position. Because there's always this like awkward point where they're not moving, and then they start moving. Like the motion, the action never matches up. So by one step back, I mean, have them step out of that door and walk into the shot. So just a few more seconds of video. Have them step back in the action a little bit and start back from a previous portion of the scene and have them move into it. And it only has to be a few seconds, just enough to get them like up to speed and into the action. If it's something more complex, you might have to have them step back a little bit more in the action, but this is really important. Number 4, peace, brother man. Number 4 is Pinterest. Pinterest is underused in my opinion. When you're about to shoot a film, and like say you wrote the film or during writing the film, use Pinterest to form like some boards that are the feeling of what you're going for with your film. And then when you reach out to other people, like set designers, costume designers, you kind of have a base point, a feeling of what you're going for. And that gives them a jumping off point. And then they can just like let their imaginations go wild and do the things that really good costume designers and set designers do. Let them do their thing. But start from like a place that is your vision, so that when they expand on what you're thinking, it comes from a place that comes from your starting point, and they won't venture so far out that it doesn't fit with the story that you have in your mind. Now, if they do, like give them the freedom though, like tell them just go wild. If you have, if they have some completely different idea, let them bring that to you. Let them feel like they have that you'll listen to them, and then look at the stuff that they bring to you, and be honest with yourself. Is this more interesting? Is that more interesting? You might just choose the one that's closer to what you wanted, but like let them have free reign, but let them have that starting point, that idea of what you're thinking about when you start this process. Number 5. So, number five. We're kind of on this point with set design. Design a set. It doesn't mean you have to spend money on it, but if you just walk, it's like, oh, this person will let me use their apartment. And you walk in, all the walls are white. There's no artwork on the walls. There's nothing in the space that explains who this character is. Unless that's the character, like they're totally vanilla, super boring character, might be okay. Oh, maybe. But look for sets that have character. Sets that not only have character, but that fit within the world that you're trying to create. Just don't accept a place because, oh, I have access to it. Keep asking around. Keep talking to people. Find a place that has some interesting colors on the wall that fit within your theme. Find a place that helps explain who the character is. And then, have your set designer do the best they can to add pieces into that space that gives us, the viewers, information about the character and the world, and is more information about what's going on. So we don't get the tendency to just switch to dialogue and say, oh, well, he used to be a cop and then this happened and he killed his partner by accident and blah, blah, blah. Explain who that character is through set design and costumes. It'll go a long way for making a good production. Number 6 is traveling. People traveling from point A to point B. I don't know why this happens, but it seems like new filmmakers feel like they have to explain every step of the way when they travel to a new location. Who cares? We don't care. Film goers are very savvy these days, and they can tell, oh, this person says grab their keys and walked out the door, and then suddenly they're at a new place. That makes sense to us. We don't have to show every step of the way. If there's some reason that you have to show this traveling in your story, if there's something important there, then do something that is about the character. Explain to us something else. Give us more information while you're doing the whole traveling from point A to point B. This whole shoe leather thing of just walking from point A, boring, doesn't fit the story, doesn't give us more information. I don't understand why new filmmakers think that this is the way you do it. It's not. Number 7. Now, I did that right that time. Number 7. Number 7 is casting. Oh, so I've already hit on some of the points that I think are the major pieces that go into creating a good film. Set design, costume, and now casting. Casting. Oh my God, casting. Casting is so important. I can't think of any one thing in a film that has more importance other than story. Story is the most important, then casting, and then let's go with set design, I would say, is our most important pieces to get across to the audience of who these characters are, what this world is, what are the issues that they're dealing with. It's a huge piece of filmmaking. Don't neglect it. All right, I got to go to my notes. My notes are over here.
7 was casting.
Okay. 8. Number 8 is... What was number 8? Number 8 is... Don't go with your very first idea. Don't go, oh, what can we do? And then something pops into your head. Like, don't just stop there and go, okay, we can do that. Move deeper into what you're trying to do. Think a little bit deeper, a little bit more interesting, because if it's the first thing that popped into your head, it's probably also the first thing that has popped into hundreds of other filmmakers' heads, and that means it's kind of boring and cliche most of the time. You might come back to that thing, but like dig a little deeper, look deeper, and find a place, a story element, something that is a little bit deeper and more delicious than the first thing that pops into your head. Number 9. Number 9 is cameras are everywhere. Everyone has cameras. You probably have a camera in your pocket. If you don't have a camera in your pocket, it probably means that you're watching this video on your camera, on your phone. There's so many cameras out there. You can find somebody that has a camera. If you really want to shoot a film, you can find someone that has a camera that you can borrow, or you can find somebody that's willing to come in that has a camera. Now, what's more rare, but very necessary on a set, is a microphone. So if you are looking to get into filmmaking and you haven't spent your $1,000 budget or whatever it is yet, so you do have a little bit of a budget to buy equipment, a camera should not be your first purchase. Audio equipment is a way better piece to purchase if you want to get into filmmaking. There's a few good reasons for it. One, if you buy a camera right now, by the time you learn how to use that camera, it's going to be obsolete. If you buy a good microphone, you can keep it for 10, 15, 20 years, and that microphone's still going to be able to serve you in the long run. So spend the money on the mic, then you're going to have other people, other film sets that you can get on to help them out, and they're going to call you and say, hey, can you help us out? Because they know you have some microphones and some recorders and sound equipment and stuff like that. It's a way, way better thing to purchase to get into the film community than buying a camera, because everybody has got a camera. Like, it's insane. Number 10 is about practice. Practice, practice, practice. Practice makes perfect. Practice makes good enough. Practice makes better. Well, anyway, when you're out practicing, when you have that piece of equipment in your hand, you got your camera, go out and use it. Shoot video, take photos, get used to the equipment that you own. If you have audio equipment, go out and record stuff. Practice as much as you can. But when you're practicing, one of the best ways to improve is to concentrate on one thing at a time. I'll go out a lot of times and I'll take one prime lens with me. So say you want to go out and shoot everything wide one day. You go out another time and you want to shoot a bunch of macros, or you want to shoot all telephoto shots. Concentrate, like, it's even better if you have prime lenses. You take one lens and like really learn what that lens can do. How does it operate, at different distances? What kind of images can you get? Really practice and like really learn one thing at a time. There's so much that you can learn, but photography can be overwhelming at times. That's why learning one piece at a time will help you grow much, much faster. Whew. Number 11 is concentrate on sound. Now, I already talked about buying some microphones if you're out there looking for equipment, but this, concentrate on sound for your film. So a lot of us think in images, but we just don't think about filling out the sonic the sonic world of a film. And especially low budget, no budgety type stuff, sound suffers. Now, you don't have to have the fanciest equipment. The biggest thing is to get that mic in the right place to record your sound. But don't just record the dialogue. There's a lot more that goes into the soundscape of a film. You have clothing noise, you have footsteps, you have road noise, you have like other people talking. There's a lot that goes into filling out the sound landscape of a film. Another thing is to have a dedicated person that's recording sound on your set. If you have a super small crew, or even if it's a one-man band, 2 would be better if you can. Sometimes if it's a really small set and I'll direct and do audio, and then I'll have somebody else do lighting and shoot. And I feel like I can do those 2 things at one time. If you're new at it and you've never done sound, have one person dedicated to sound, and then have them like watch the action and, oh, there was this person came in and out of this door. Get a couple of opening the door sounds. Get some road noise going by in the background. So if you have to cover some stuff up, get some wild sounds around the set. Hopefully you'll have some stuff to put into your soundscape, get room tone, and then record Foley. Think about the film, what actions are happening in the film, and everything that you see that would make a noise needs to have an associated sound. It doesn't mean it has to be that specific thing. I mean, we use like cornstarch for snow all the time. Foley. Look up some Foley if you haven't done the sound for a film yet. It's awesome. Number 12. Don't block your actors against a wall. Like, don't have a wall and then your actors. In every shot, think about foreground, midground, and background, or foreground, subject, and background. Every time you frame up a shot, you should always be thinking of that. Get some depth in there. We're already dealing with a 2-dimensional image. We need to give the illusion of depth. And it's really hard to do when you have people lined up straight with a flat wall, kind of like the one I got right here. It's kind of ironic that I said don't shoot in a boring white space, yet that's what I'm doing today, really. I'm working on the set. It's coming along, so just bear with me. But I do get the irony. Number 13 is quiet time. So number 13, quiet time. When you're working on your story, when you're planning stuff out, give yourself some quiet time. If your mind is always like occupied with stuff, the TV's on, or you're listening to like YouTube how-to videos like this one, you're on your phone, you're doing all this, don't let the world divide your attention. Give yourself some space, go for a walk, find some time in your day to like focus on the story and what you want to do, and allow that space, that brain space, so those creative ideas can like flow to you, so that you can create the best story and the best like relaxed creative mind that you can in order to make a good film. So this might be a little over the top for most people that are like new into film, but pacing is extremely important. If you have like a constant pace through your entire film that doesn't vary at all, it's going to get boring. You need to have a little bit of tension and release, like some contrast in the pacing of the film. There needs to be some more action-y scenes where there's much more going on, and then there needs to be a little bit that is a little more calm. You have to have variation in it, just like you're going to have variation in your shots as far as close-up, medium, wide, variation in your lighting, brights and darks, variation in the pacing, variation on the sets. A lot of this comes to just having a different feel for the different sections. And when you contrast different areas, then you know there a transition's happened in the character. We can like show that transition by showing a variance in the pace, a contrasting pace. Number 15. Oh my, this is a big one. This one is giant. This one can really screw up your day or make your day. And that is test your equipment. Test all of your equipment, your cables, hook everything up, put the SD cards in your recorders and your camera, hook up all the cables, record some stuff, go through your entire workflow, put it in the computer, check everything out, turn all your lights on, check the white balance of all of them, check every single piece of equipment that you're going to be using to make sure that it's working and that it's working in the way that you think, that the thing is going to do what you want. I mean, it's so easy to derail a film in so many ways. Like, you get to the set, you have everything. The person's like, did you bring the SD card? They could not, but they're like, sure, I got one here. You put it in, and then you realize that your 4K camera can't record on that SD card because it's not fast enough. Test everything out all the way through the workflow before you get on set, because it's so easy for things to just drop off, and then all these people that you brought together are waiting around for somebody to run out to Best Buy and get a fast enough SD card, and it just really disturbs the set. It's not a good way to start the day. Number 16. Limitations. We think of limitations as something bad, but limitations can lead to creativity. Limitations can be the thing that helps us create a really interesting story. Now, especially limitations in money. Now, if we look at films, the more money that you have, it means you have more options, but it also means you have fewer options in the type of stories that you can tell, and you have people like second guessing everything, and the money people come in and they just change everything. You can't tell any story you want with the big budget, because with that big budget comes the requirement of making that money back, which means you have to have a bunch of people with their butts in the seats paying for that. That means you have to write a story or tell a story that's pretty much universally liked. So some sort of action thing, maybe a comic book movie. That's why we have all that, because it costs so much to make a film. It has to be something that's going to have global appeal. But those stories are kind of generic because they need to appeal to a whole bunch of people. What we can do, we as micro-budget filmmakers, can have a smaller budget. And with that comes an ability to do a much more niche, smaller story. Something that isn't going to have broad appeal, but it's going to have a really strong appeal with a very small group of people. We can make a film, a really intimate, like intense film for a small audience that will really connect with them. And do you want to make an emotional film, a film that really connects and resonates with somebody? To me, I would rather have a few people say that is my favorite film I've ever seen, than to make a big giant blockbuster, another generic superhero film that a bunch of people go see, but no one really connects on a deep level. That just seems like a no-brainer. So think of that limitation with budget as a benefit and niche down. Get a story that's not just generic and broad. Make a movie about a story that really connects with a small group of people. This is number 17. I'm going to stick right here because 17 seems to be a good age. From 14 to 17 is when people like first think, I'm going to make a movie. And in that age group, I see so many people making the exact same film. They're running around in the woods with airsoft guns doing an action flick. And they're like, 14-year-old kid is some kingpin drug leader or something. I've seen a bunch of these. They're not they're not that inspiring. If you're just practicing, go for it. And you just want to have fun, go out there, make a little action film. That's fine. But really consider that your world, your age, the world that you live in, the world that seems boring to you, is not a world that a bunch of other people live in. A bunch of adults don't really know what it's like to be a young person. They don't know what your world is like, and I'm sure they would love to know. There's got to be stories that exist in the world that you live in now, the thing that you're the world that you connect with, the thing that you know right now. You can make a film about bullying if you're in school. That, there's so many different stories that are true and real. And I mean, it doesn't even have to be narrative. It could be a documentary. Just think about your particular world, the thing that you do that seems normal and mundane to you doesn't mean that it's normal and mundane to everyone. And make a story that talks about an issue within your world, and you're going to get a much better project than you would if you just went out and did some mindless little action flick that has no emotional connection. That's all I have for you guys today. I love you all, and I hope to see you in the comments. Really would like to see the next tips come from you. I know you guys have learned a bunch over the years when you shoot your film. Share some of that knowledge. Let's continue this conversation down in the comments. That's all I got for you today. I love you all, and I hope to see you in the comments. Bye.